Welcome to Let's Talk About It with Advocates Protecting Children. I'm Maria Keffler.
I'm Erin Brewer.
And I'm May Lyle.
And today we're going to talk about a Chicago School District policy that they just came out with this year. They presented as if they're making safe spaces for their students, but what they're actually doing is taking away sex-specific spaces and making all bathrooms open to anybody.
I can't really think of something that's more ridiculous and more dangerous and more humiliating than opening up bathrooms to both sexes. Girls don't want boys around when they're using the bathroom. Boys don't want girls around when they're using the urinal. This is unnecessary. It's dangerous. It's humiliating. It's ridiculous. And why are they doing this?
And the other thing is that in England, they did this. I can't remember what part of England, but there was an area in England where a school, I believe it might have just been one school did this. And girls were staying home from school when they were menstruating because they were embarrassed to go. Girls were getting bladder infections because they weren't going to the bathroom to relieve themselves. And girls were being harassed in the bathroom by boys. And, you know, they're calling these bathrooms girl plus bathrooms and boy plus bathrooms. They're kind of reinforcing this lie that a child isn't that the sex that they were born. And May, you actually taught in elementary school, I believe.
I did.
Kind of talk about how you think this would impact little kids?
Oh, I think it would be just totally devastating because even as young as preschoolers, they recognize the difference between their bodies, and there's the curiosity is already there. And I think it would just accelerate all kinds of dangers that could happen.
I'm wondering if it would increase the number of children who develop gender dysphoria.
I think it could very well have an impact about that because, you know, one little girl says, oh, you know, I don't look like that. I want to look like that. I don't look like I want to look. And so that just starts a cycle that is going to continue throughout their lives, and they're never going to be happy.
The thing that I think is really interesting about this is that they created some bathrooms that are gender neutral, which seems like to make a little bit more sense. Like none of this makes sense, but in the grand scheme of things, it makes a little bit more sense than calling a boys' bathroom boys plus and a girls' bathroom girls plus, because a gender neutral bathroom is saying, you know, basically anybody comes in, but it's not suggesting that there could be, you know, a boy who identifies as a girl who wants to go into the girls' bathroom. Whereas the plus sign on there is just to me incredibly confusing. I'm thinking about first of all, when I was a little kid, I would have gone into the boys plus bathroom because I had gender dysphoria, and that would have just reinforced the idea that I could, in fact, just be a boy just by going into the boys' bathroom. But there are other weird messages connected with that plus sign on the bathroom.
Another problem, I'm thinking about adults using the bathrooms. Presently, or at least in the past, adult teachers did not go into the girls' bathroom. Adult male teachers did not go into the girls' bathroom. Adult female teachers did not go into the boys' bathroom. I don't know where people have gotten the idea that there are no predators in schools. I mean, we know that predators who prey on children try to get access to children's spaces. And in no way am I saying that all teachers are predators or suspect, but we know that predators do try to become teachers, and occasionally they surface, and we see this is a child predator. By opening up bathrooms to both sexes, you're really giving those predators carte blanche. Go in and prey on children. Nobody's going to stop you.
And there are also children that are predators. And we saw this, I believe it was in Virginia, where a boy was going into the girls' bathrooms because he claimed to identify as a girl. And I believe he raped one or two girls while he was in there. So this is opening the door quite literally to predators to come in and violate girls while they're, you know, trying to do things that are very private.
Yeah, that
And
happened in Loudoun County, just a neighboring county to where I am here in Virginia. And the boy sexually assaulted a girl in one school, and the school transferred him to a different school. It's a huge scandal. The school system covered it up. There was a school board meeting where parents asked if there have been instances of transgender identified boys harming girls, and the school said, nope, that's never happened. That meeting where they said that occurred right after this happened, and they transferred this boy to another school where he did it again.
And so it's really interesting to me that the Chicago School District has decided that this is how they can be inclusive and create safe spaces. And yet it seems like they're inclusive of a very, very small minority, and the other children are just being put at risk. And so they're actually privileging a very tiny group of children and willing to take away the rights and protections of the rest of the children for this tiny, tiny group that is supposedly marginalized.
and it's going a step further by normalizing some very specific odd behaviors that are not normal.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, May, because the next thing we wanted to talk about is a teacher. And I think we'll just run the video here so that everybody can see it.
I teach high school, and most days of the week I come to school in stilettos. I get to stand at about 6'6", and the reason why is so I can create an explicitly queer space for all of my students. That way they know that this place is a place for them, by them, and because I never had one of those growing up. So yeah, bit of a beast.
So when I see a video like this, the first thing I think of is, what would it be like? What would the response of the public be like if the same teacher, instead of wearing stilettos to create a queer safe space, put on blackface in order to make Black students feel more accepted and tolerated in the classroom? How do you think that would go over?
I don't think that would go over very well at all. I think we would recognize that as really insulting.
I think you'd
And
have some irate parents.
yeah,
Why
I
is
think you're
it
right,
that
May.
that a man can put on these absurd, ridiculous shoes that any of us who have been teachers would suggest are completely absurd for a teacher to wear? I've been a teacher. I wear flats. I wear comfortable shoes because I'm on my feet all day. I could not wear shoes like that. I don't know any woman teacher who wears shoes like that. So to suggest that that's somehow creating a space that's inclusive and queer tolerant is very confusing to me.
Yeah, those stilettos, I mean, those are really an outlandish caricature of womanhood. I don't know any women who wear stilettos. There are women who wear stilettos. There are not very many of them. I'm thinking back to my entire history in schools, both being a teacher and being a student. I can think of one teacher that I knew who wore high heels every day. She was very much a fashionista, and she was short. And I think she wore the high heels to kind of get up above her students a little bit. One teacher in 50 years of experience in public education, and they weren't stilettos. They were just simply high heel pumps.
And it
was
oh, go ahead, May.
It was a matter of practicality, not to show, some exaggerated character issue.
Right, it's a stereotype, very, very, especially, I mean, these are not practical shoes. It's very much to me like the blackface. It's a stereotype of what it means to be a woman. And I find it very insulting. The other thing is that he claims, he claims he towers 6'6", which to me is not creating, a warm and inclusive space. It's actually kind of intimidation and bullying.
Exactly.
If I walked into the classroom, I'm a little bit above 5 feet tall, he's over a foot, towering over me. Other students, there are going to be other mostly female students that are significantly shorter than he is. And here he is, basically walking around saying he's doing this to create a safe space for queer students. Well, what about the other students who are very intimidated by a male who is, towering over them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And one of the things he said that struck me was, this is something I didn't have when I was growing up. And I hear that all the time. This is what I would have wanted. This is what I want to do. And it just seems very selfish. So he's claiming that he's known he was queer ever since he was young. This is what he would want. But yeah, what about the rest of the student body? What about everybody else? If he wanted to be Black, going back to the blackface, I've always wanted to be Black. Would we say, oh, that's great, you can put blackface on and we'll affirm you in that? I don't think we would.
No. And the other thing is that there are lots of other ways to be gender nonconforming. And so the confusing thing about it is that he looks very gender conforming to the stereotypes of a male, except for these shoes. If he really wanted to create a space that was accepting of gender nonconformity, he could do lots of other things that aren't such caricatures of womanhood.
Why not wear ballet flats?
Yeah.
I mean, ballet flats are comfortable, they're womanly.
Mhm.
We do know there is a fetish that certain men have with shoes and feet. And this is pretty well documented. And so I look at this guy and I think you're just indulging your fetish in public.
Right. And if that's what inclusivity means, that we get to sort of expose our fetishes in public, that's not creating safe spaces for children.
No.
No, it's creating more of a divide and more of a dangerous situation.
Well, we really need to fight back about what's happening in the schools. Anytime someone says that they're creating tolerant and inclusive spaces, I think you need to question that. And again, it's essential for parents to get involved and to contact these school districts and let them know that, you know, the ways in which they're trying to create these inclusive spaces are affirming gender dysphoric feelings, which are not positive feelings. Those are feelings that are very uncomfortable and difficult. And the best way to help students who are struggling with those feelings is to get them to support so that they can accept who they are and feel comfortable with who they are, not feel like they have to put on a pair of stilettos in order to sort of express who they are, or engage in taking, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery in order to change their appearance so much that they don't even look like who they really are.